In this lecture, you're going to write your first C++ 20 program, and we're going to start and attempt to understand our program. Let's hop over to Visual Studio Code and actually do that. The first thing we want to do is to set up our code so that we can open that in Visual Studio Code. We're going to start from our C++ 20 template project that we set up in the last lecture. And I'm going to be doing the projects for this chapter in this folder here. So we're going to do our very first C++ program. So what we're going to do is go inside our C++ 20 template project. And I noticed that we actually left in the build files we don't want. So what we're going to do is remove this main file and this VC140 thing. We don't want these here. And we're going to copy the main CPP file and the .vs code folder. We're going to copy these things and we're going to put them in our first C++ program folder. And we're going to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is not opened up. You see that I have my developer PowerShell opened. If you want, you can open Visual Studio Code directly without going through this if you're not going to be using the Visual Studio compiler. But I want to have the option to use that compiler. So this is how I am going to open my Visual Studio Code instance. I am going to type code.exe to open this up. I'm going to hit enter and Visual Studio Code is going to open. And it is going to open whatever we did in the last lecture. We don't want this project because this is a template project from the last chapter. We're going to close this folder, go to File, and hit Close Folder. And we're going to open the new folder we want to work in. We're going to go to File and hit Open Folder. We're going to go to the location where our project is. So you're going to go where yours is. I'm going to browse to mine. And I'm going to go in the current chapter and choose 3.2 first C++ program. I'm going to select the folder. It's going to open up. And you're going to see that our settings from the last template project are still valid here. They were copied over. If we open the main CPP file, it's going to be the main thing we had in the last lecture. So we have the option to run task. You're going to see that we have our two compilers available, and this is really good. We are ready to start using this. Let's try and build this with GCC, and we're going to have our binary created. We can click in the terminal here, and if we want to open the terminal again, we have the option to come in terminal and new terminal. This is going to open this up. If we do dir in the terminal, we're going to see our program generated. We can remove this thing here and say rmrooster.exe and remove this. We can clear and we have a clean project we can start learning from. Okay, now we have the project in. It is building successfully. Let's try to understand the code we have in here. The first statement we have is this include IOStream thing. This is a feature C++ offers to load the pre-built libraries that we can use. IOStream is specifically going to help us print things to the console. We've seen that we can, for example, print hello world if we want. Let's take out all these things in here and say std : cout. This is coming from IOStream, and we're going to put two less than symbols. We're going to open two quotes, and inside we're going to type hello world. And we're going to go outside the quotes and do two less than signs and say std : endl and put a semicolon. This is going to print things on the console if we run this program. So if we run this program, the first thing we need to do is to build this program. So we can come to terminal, task, and we're going to build it with GCC. And after we've built it, we can hit enter to close the terminal. And we can do dir to see the content of the folder. You see that a program has been generated. We can run it. And if we run it, it's going to say hello world. This message is coming from this statement here. And we have this statement because we have included IOStream. To really make this super clear, we can try to remove this line that says include IOStream. And the moment we do that, you're going to see that this tab says we have problems. And if you open this tab, you're going to see the message, namespace std has no member, cout, namespace std has no member, endl. This is because the C++ program doesn't know what std cout means, because we don't have the library included. And you also see that we have these squiggly lines to make it really clear that we have a problem. So to really be able to use this, we have to include a third-party library that brings these features into our program. And that's what the include statement here is really doing. So let's bring this in, and we're going to say IOStream again. And let's wait and see that the problem goes away. And one thing you should really know is that we don't have a semicolon at the end of the IOStream statement. We don't need to put it there, but many C++ statements need a semicolon at the end. Okay, I think this really makes it clear what the include statement here is doing. The other thing we have in our program is this int main parentheses curly braces thing. This thing here is called the main function. A function in C++ is a block of code that does a lot of things. But the main function here is special because it is the starting point of your C++ program. We also call the main function the entry point of a C++ program. And what that means is that if you open the program, the main function is going to be the very first thing that is going to run, and the things are going to be executed in the main function in order. So the statement on the top is going to run first, and the statement after that, until we hit the end of the function. So this is what we mean here. To really drive this home, we can come here in our main function and say std number1. And say std endl. And by the way, this endl statement is going to print a new line. We're going to see it in effect in a moment. Let's actually take it out so that we can see its effect. We're going to also do std cout number2. And what this is going to do is to print number1 and number2 on the terminal. Let's build this program. And if you want to build the default task, you can hit Ctrl-Shift-B for it to happen very fast. But I am always going to come here so that it is really clear what I am doing. Our program should be generated now. If we try to run it by typing rooster.exe, and again, we can hit the up arrow button on our keyboard so that the last command that we run from this terminal runs, and this is going to speed things up a little bit. So if we run this program, it should say number1 and number2 as you see here, but these two things are cramped on one line, and the reason is we are not printing new line characters after we print number1 and number2. And we can solve this problem by putting in two less than symbols and saying std : endl. This is going to put a new line character after number1. We can build again for our new changes to take effect. After we do that, we click on the terminal, we hit enter, we hit the up arrow button. If we run, it's going to say number1 and number2 on two separate lines because we are printing a new line character after number1. I really hope this makes sense. Please do take some time to play with us, because if this is the first time you're doing this, some things might not be clear, and the best way to really make sense of this is to type code, run it, and see the effect of what you type by running your program. So let's do this a couple of times. We're going to do std endl after the statement for number2. We're going to do std cout number3. And we're going to do std endl. To really show the problem again, we're going to take out std endl on the number2 line. We are going to build. The build is going to be successful. We're going to click in the terminal, hit enter, hit the up arrow button, run the program again, and you're going to see it's saying number1. It's going on the new line. printing number 2, but we're not jumping to the new line from number 2. So number 2 and number 3 are going to be cramped on one line. That's what we see here. We can solve this again by putting in a new line after number 2. Let's do stdendl here. And this should solve the problem. Again, let's build. We're going to run our build task. The build is going to be successful. We're going to hit the up arrow to run the program. If we run it, it's going to say number 1, number 2, and number 3. And this is really good. Now it should be clear that statements in the main function are run in order from top to bottom, and that the program is going to end when it hits the end of this curly brace that englobes our function. We're going to have a chance to learn more about functions in detail later in the course, but we are just getting started and we need to start somewhere. So that's why we're doing this main function thing here. Another thing you can do is return from the main function, and in many examples you will see people do return 0, something like this. And this is a way for the main function to send the message to the operating system if it finished successfully or if there was some kind of problem. We're not going to go into any more details about the main function because that's really too much for now. We are just getting started. We are trying to get a feel of how C++ works. The main message here is really that you should be able to print things to the console using stdcout. You should be able to print a new line after your message using stdendl. This stdcout and stdendl thing come from the iostream library that we are including here. If we don't include this library, we're going to have problems because our C++ program is not going to know where they are coming from. So we should really put this in if we want to use these features. And we can return from a function to let the system know, the operating system, if the program finished up successfully or if there was some kind of problem. And again, this project is using the templates we've done before. And this is really all we set out to do in this lecture, trying to make sense of the main function in C++. To really practice these things, I would challenge you to write a C++ program just like this that is going to print your name 10 times. Try to do that. And if you have a problem, please do ask me and I will do the best I can to help you out. This is really all we set out to do in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. We're going to stop here in this lecture. In the next one, we're going to start and learn about comments in C++. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.